if you could build more muscles by working out during a certain time of the day? What about if some workouts are better than others? Most people don't know that taking time off the gym can actually help you build more muscle than training all the time. These are just a couple of things that no one really tells you about lifting weights and building muscles. And today in this video, I want to go over 10 things that you should definitely know if you want to seriously build muscles and avoid major muscle building mistakes. These 10 things are both applicable to men and women. The first thing that no one really tells you is that working out and getting fit is definitely not all sunshine and rainbows. Most influencers and Instagram models have you fooled that they live the perfect life, but that's not the case. The first problem is that at least one of your muscles will likely be sore almost every day of the week. In fact, some days your legs will hurt like hell when you walk down the stairs, and it will feel incredibly painful to simply squat down and sit on a chair or go to the toilet. You will also experience injuries along the way, and when there are many things you can do to minimize your risks, there is no bulletproof way to prevent them altogether. If you train hard, you will likely experience injuries at one point or another. The key is to be mentally prepared and accept these negative experiences that will come with working out. Even myself, I've gone through this kind of setbacks. With this knowledge, you won't quit or stop when the going gets tough. The second thing that no one tells you is that if you are successful at building a decent amount of muscle, you're going to be labeled and stereotyped a certain way. It's very common for natural bodybuilders and even some not so muscular models to be accused of taking steroids, when in reality they never even have thought about using them. These types of accusation typically comes from people that are either inexperienced, not training hard enough, or they simply don't have the best genetics. See, some people have better muscle genetics than others, and they tend to deny the fact that someone can achieve a much higher genetic potential without using steroids. Another common assumption after you put on some muscle is that people may be more likely to think that you are less intelligent. This is obviously not true, because most of the successful actors have a decent amount of muscles. Not only actors, but there are so many experts in many fields that are ripped. This doesn't stop people that don't realize that from having that initial impression. With all that said, none of this should prevent you from building more muscle, because after all, who cares about what people think about you? Just ignore these accusations, because most of these people pointing fingers don't understand what they are talking about. Another thing that nobody tells you is that alcohol will make it much harder to gain muscle if you drink in excess. Excessive alcohol consumption can even make you lose muscle. Most people already know that alcohol won't benefit muscle growth, and honestly, if you drink in moderation, it won't have much of an effect on your muscle growth. Drinking alcohol has been found to decrease protein synthesis rates, which is definitely not beneficial for muscle growth. It's okay to drink in moderation, because at the end of the day, your results will be highly determined by what you do majority of the time. If you don't get much sleep just one night of the week, or you drink alcohol only one night of the week, it shouldn't really have much of an impact on muscle growth. What you want to avoid is excessive alcohol consumption, because not only does that prevent muscle growth, but also prevent fat loss. Another thing that no one tells you is that there is actually a better time of the day to work out in regard to muscle building purposes. According to science, you are likely to be stronger in the evening, and you'll build more muscle with evening workouts compared with morning workouts. Your body has an internal clock known as the circadian rhythm. Due to this circadian rhythm, you're stronger, faster, and you have more beneficial hormonal status at certain times of the day. For example, a 24-week long study, researchers compared two groups of workouts between 6:30 in the morning and 10 in the morning, and a second group that work out between 4:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. The results showed that those who worked out later in the day gained more muscle, and you can see that in the graph included in this study. So you may ask, why are evening workouts better than morning workouts for strength and muscle growth? Well, first, post-workout muscle anabolic signaling is higher later in the day, and second, you have a more favorable testosterone to cortisol ratio in the evening. Core body temperature also peaks later in the day, which enhances muscle activation, energy metabolism, nervous system, efficiency, and blood flow to your muscles. All this allows you to perform better, leading to faster progress. So if your schedule allows it, ideally you want to work out between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Another thing that they probably won't tell you is that strength training doesn't necessarily translate directly into making you perform better in other sports. Just because you have big muscles doesn't mean you can swing a hammer harder, throw a ball further, sprint faster, or land a harder punch. Well, we all know strength is the foundation of many activities. For example, in order to sprint faster, you need a decent amount of relative strength in your legs, but strength isn't the only component that's required in the real world. Once you've built a certain level of strength, improving your athletic performance from a physical perspective is usually more about becoming more explosive than becoming stronger, amongst other many attribute improvements. So if you are using resistance training to become better at another sport, make sure to also train specifically for other sports in explosive ways, which you can do by performing workouts involving things like plyometrics, medicine ball tosses, or sprinting drills. The other thing you might not realize is that muscle grows while you are at rest, and surprisingly, this is something that many people don't realize. They might have heard the saying that muscle grows at rest, but the way they set their workout plan and sleep schedule doesn't really fit with this narrative. Sleeping and resting is just as important as working out and eating, right? If you want to build muscle. There are a lot of people out there that eat well and work out hard, but they only sleep 5 or 6 hours a night, and this is something horrible for muscle growth. Aside from sleep, you should also take enough time off of lifting weights throughout the week to recover optimally. If you are working out 7 days a week, sure, there are ways that you can target one muscle group each day and not overdo it, but chances are that you won't get an adequate amount of rest. If you are working out every single day, and the more intense your workout sessions are, the more you should be resting. So, if you are lifting heavy weights and training real hard, you shouldn't be getting to the gym more than 5 or 6 days a week. A great strategy is to split your routine into something like chest and back on one day, legs and abs the next day, and then shoulders and arms the next day. Take a day off and repeat the cycle. Whichever way you set up your program, taking a day off at the end of every full body cycle will help you much more than you think. Which brings me to another point that you don't hear about too often, and that's the fact that you can actually get stronger and build more muscle by occasionally taking extra time off. Most people think you have to hit the gym and go hard every single week to gain strength and build more muscle. But taking a full week off working out, you allow your body to fully rest and recover. And many times, you will surprise yourself by coming back stronger the following week. During your time off, you can either relax and not visit the gym at all, or you can also do simple active recovery. Personally, I get better results by doing something light. For example, if I normally squat 200 pounds or bench press 180 pounds, I'll drop the weight so now I can squat 100 pounds or bench press 90 pounds. And I have done this several times and then come back stronger afterwards. You can apply the same active recovery to all your muscle, not just your legs and chest. Another thing you probably don't know is this idea that if you're injured, you automatically take it easy. In reality, active recovery is generally better than doing nothing. One thing that most people don't realize is that there are only a very small handful of injuries that make it impossible to train any other part of the body where you're injured. For example, if you dislocate your shoulder, you can still train your lower body. On top of that, research shows that active recovery actually speeds up tissue repair, mainly by improving blood flow to your connective tissues. Connective tissues in general receive very small amounts of blood flow when the surrounding muscles aren't active. Tendons and ligaments have about 7.5 times lower oxygen delivery than muscle tissues does, which is why it takes longer to recover from a tendon injury than a muscle-related one. So, staying active helps you get blood flow, cells that carry nutrients over to your injured tendons and ligaments. Don't go overboard. If you feel pain while you exercising, stop what you're doing. You shouldn't experience pain because if you do, you're likely doing more harm than good. But slight discomfort while you perform active recovery is okay, and it can actually help speed up the recovery process. Another thing that you probably didn't know is the challenge that comes with cutting calories. You will feel more hungry than the usual times. On the other hand, people don't realize that the challenge that comes with building muscles oftentimes feeling more stuffed. Sometimes you simply won't want to eat, even though this is very unlikely to happen during a calorie deficit, since you will feel hungry and you will be excited about your next opportunity to eat. When you're constantly eating more calories than you need for maintenance, which is what we call a calorie surplus, is at some point you're just not going to want to eat your meal because you are still going to be stuffed from that last couple of meals. On top of that, when you're in a calorie deficit, all your boring meals will taste better than due to the fact that you are in a calorie deficit. You are hungry even for stuff like a chicken breast. However, if you are trying to gain muscle and you are eating more than enough calories, you are going to feel like you are forcing that meal down, and that's something you are going to adapt and adjust as you get on with your training. Finally, last but not least, is that no one else talks about muscle memory. Even though you shouldn't really take more than a week or two of active recovery, many times people stop working out entirely when their lives get real busy. Even though this is far from ideal, the good news is that you do have muscle memory. Even though you will lose muscle and strength after about a month of not training, the good news is that you can regain both the muscle and strength faster than what it originally took to build in the first place. This is thanks to the myonuclei, which are the centers of your muscle fibers, and they are responsible for regulating most functions within a muscle cell. The speed that your body can add new myonuclei is known as myonuclear addition, and it determines how fast you can actually build muscle, even though it takes a lot of training and hard work to increase the number of myonuclei. And the good news is that once the myonuclei are in place, they tend to stay there. Research indicates that when it comes to human muscle tissues, even after extended periods of training, the same myonuclei will remain there for 15 or more years. And some people claim that this myonuclei will remain in place for your entire life. So if you take any more time off from the gym, don't use that as an excuse, because you can gain most of the muscle that you lost relatively quickly thanks to the muscle memory. Thank you dearly for watching till the end of this video. I put a huge effort into creating these videos and I love doing it. So if you enjoyed this video, do feel free to check my other content and also show some appreciation by subscribing. See you in my next video.